celebrate. They have done it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris and Mark back for the first time in I don't know how long, asking that question that we always used to ask every week, but now we just ask it every now and again. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on, Mark. The weather has been lush. Things have been heating up, but not Newcastle United's transfer activity. But maybe it's about to change. What's going on with you, Bonnie lad?
Yeah. The heat wave seems to have missed the backdoor areas of Newcastle. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? Backdoor areas. Oh my God!
He's gone too early. You're talking about backdoor areas.
Anyway,
out the intro, mate. You'll be getting
the inner sanctum. That's not getting any better, is it? No.
Yeah,
evening, everybody.
Evening, everybody. Yes, evening.
Tell it's been at least 4 weeks.
Absolutely. Mark's rusty. Don't worry. We'll get there. We'll get there in the end. But we just thought we'd come on and do a little bit of a video, just to catch up with everybody, really have a little bit of a chat. We've got a few things to talk about. Obviously, all things Newcastle United, a little bit of the transfer talk. I am going to give an opinion. Mark's going to give his opinion as well on just some of the grief some of the content creators have been getting by making content over the summer, which I don't really get, but we'll get into that in a minute. We are live, as always, guys, so smash a comment in. A few are already in there. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, help get us to the next milestone, which is going to be 11,000. So we're around about 400 away. So you guys can make it happen. Click the button, all the buttons, subscribe, like, hit the bell so you don't miss any videos when we are live or when we upload a video. So let's get stuck right in, Mark, right in. So the first topic we've got to talk about tonight really is the view from the window. It's safe to say the view from the window is not particularly great, man. I think I've seen run-down, battered council houses with better windows than Newcastle United so far. There is a lot of frustration in the background by supporters, but there's been a little bit of movement, I think, over the last couple of days, which might indicate Newcastle United are possibly looking to do stuff like we all thought in line with that PSR deadline. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I think you were kind of always on the money with it when you're getting towards the end of June, beginning July, taking advantage of maybe some of the clubs that have PSR problems, but also waiting for the new sort of football finance year or the PSR year from the 1st of July. I guess makes sense. I think everybody wants early transfers in. I think that's what Eddie Howe wanted, wasn't it? It's what he talks about towards the end of the season. But it does look like there's a little bit of movement. There's another young player that's been linked that we've seen come through the reports this afternoon. The young Korean lad whose name I've just completely forgotten about. It's Park Sung-soo, I think.
Sung-soo. I've been a huge fan for the last hour, to be honest with you, mate. I've never seen a better Korean player in my life, not the last 10 minutes.
You said as the message earlier, what does the missus know? Because she's a big Korean fan of BTS, and if you know, you know. If you don't, fair enough. What does she know about? And I just texted back saying the youngest player in the history of the K-League 2 to debut. It's 70 years, 3 months and 30 days. Youngest goal scorer in the history of Korean for professional football at 17 years, 3 months and 21 days. That's it. That's all I know. That's brilliant as far as we're aware, but we're not going to pretend to know anything about this lad. It's just, but a little bit of movement.
Yeah, I'm going to rename you Gemini. I think that's how quickly you answered that one, mate, to be fair. Gemini or Google, one of the two as well. Graham's in the comments saying 30th of June, 83 million in the black. 1st of July, 150 million plus war chest. Wouldn't be surprised if deals are done, but it's not the financial new year yet. That does seem to be the case. I mean, the James Trafford thing's popped up, Mark, as well, in terms of the talk. I mean, that's never gone away, and I've always felt that James Trafford was one that was going to get done. I was really confident about that. I like him. He's a good keeper. I think he had a rough ride in the Premier League. I was a bit critical when we first got linked to him, but I think that season in the Championship has done him the world of good. He's been away with England. He's a confident young lad. He loves to wind up and mack him. So big tick in the box for you, James, lad. No doubt about it at all. But I think that one is the keeper that Eddie Howe wants. I think we've talked about him before in rumour hazards, but I think because he's so good with his feet as well, it gives us another dynamic, Mark, doesn't it, in terms of playing out from the back if we do get Trafford in. And they've just signed a keeper as well, so it almost looks like they've got his replacement tagged and bagged. So I think it's a matter of when, not if, for Trafford, would you say, mate?
It certainly looks that way, doesn't it? You mentioned the keeper that they've brought in that's been banded as his replacement throughout. I think Sky Sports sort of suggested that earlier on. It very much looks like Trafford will be one of the first, if not the first, I guess, to go through the door. I mean, negotiations ongoing. I mean, it could. We've seen negotiations go before where the price suddenly spirals and the club walk away, but I think this one has been such a long-term thing that I can't imagine it going particularly wrong. And I think it's one of those that Eddie's clearly said that he wants. And you're right. I think 2 seasons ago, he wasn't ready for the Premier League. He really wasn't, and he got shaken up and beaten up, and he got dominated by opposition players, and he wasn't as commanding as he should be. And he was only young, and to be thrown into that side where Company wanted Burnley to play a particular way, he can do that, but they were never ever going to be competitive by doing that. They just didn't have the players to do it. A year in the Championship to grow as a player and become more physically dominating as a goalkeeper was absolutely essential. And he was outstanding last year. I mean, on a ridiculous number of clean sheets they had last year. They conceded about 3 goals all season. And there was a run where he looked like he wasn't going to concede another goal. And that's down to the side as well. But he had an exceptional season. And I think he is there's a lot of potential. And maybe he's not an immediate upgrade on Nick Pope, but he's definitely an upgrade longer term, given the age more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I still think Pope stays almost like a mentor figure where you kind of give him and Trafford, if Trafford does come, which hopefully he will, that they have a chance to kind of balance games, because it's a good way to kind of bleed Trafford in. We know about Eddie Reddy timescales. He's not going to throw him in straight away if he thinks he's not right off. There's a certain game, whether it be a Champions League game or a big league game, where he thinks maybe a little bit of experience might be needed, and then Pope could go in there. But I think I could see Pope being a real good mentor to Trafford. And I think sometimes young keepers need that. If you were to talk to Tim Krul, I bet you Given and Harper were great for him, when he was coming through the ranks at Newcastle, and he was able to step in and be Newcastle's number one at a relatively young age, I think, because of that. Likes of Joe Hart as well, at Manchester City, he had good goalkeepers. David James, I think, would have probably helped them out when he was coming through as well. So you do need that experience coming through as a young goalkeeper. Chippers has been a member for 8 months, and he does say, "Good to see you in my work on Friday, Chris." Yes, Chippers, there's a hero amongst men there. He helped me in my hour of need, because sometimes you just need cheesy Doritos, and this man helped me out royally. Other crisps are available. You are a legend, Chippers. Thank you very much, mate, and thank you for watching the channel as always. But it was good to meet you eventually, Bonnie lad.
That line of "not all heroes wear capes" springs to mind.
To be fair, the cheesy Doritos weren't for me. I was going for bugles, then I made a last minute change because there was prawn cocktail Watsits down to 175. You know what I'm saying, Mark? I can see you're already salivating at the thought of prawn cocktail Watsits. Giant Watsits, by the way. I'm not fucking about here, right?
No.
I'm not pissing around. This ain't no disco, man.
I like discos.
This is serious shit. Stephen says, "Have you caught the sun, Chris?" I hope so, mate. I did go out without my factor 600 on, so maybe I did catch a little bit of sun. Pete says, "Great channel. Thank you very much, Pete."
Thank you.
Really appreciate that, man. It's quite good. It's good to be back behind the mic. I have been moonlighting on other channels. You might have seen me on other channels recently, but there's no place like home, as Dorothy would say. That's just because you're too busy to do it, Mark. That's what it is. Jay Tuner's in the house. Evening to you too. Bonnie lad, what else we got here? Chalky's back in the house saying, "Harry lads, it's great to see you back on a live." It is. And so far, we're a few minutes in, and Mark's cat has not trashed the building yet, but give it time. It will be there. I'm sure he's in the background somewhere. Phil is saying, "It baffles me how Man City can spend like they don't have 100+ charges hanging over them." I mean, honestly, touch on the City thing, Mark, before we finish talking about Newcastle and the transfers. They are definitely just getting a slap on the wrist for me. There's no fucking way they're going to get nailed to the wall, because they are one of the most marketable clubs that the Premier League has. The manager, the players that they have, Erling Haaland. There's no way Erling Haaland is staying at Man City if he thinks they're getting done over and relegated. There's no fucking way. They would have had wind of this by now. Their agents, the players, the sponsors, Pep, the whole lot. There's no way Pep's staying and those players are staying and signing for that football club if they're getting nailed, mate. It's a slap on the wrist. And what does it mean? Does it mean it's carte blanche for like Newcastle and Villa to say, fuck it, let's go for it? What does it mean? What would be the ramifications?
I think from the understanding of what the charges are, it's more. It's not so much around the PSR issues. It's other things that they've done wrong. I mean, they have just been fined. What is £1 million for delaying kickoffs, which I thought was funny. I think it was what I laughed was their comments because they delayed more games the season before. And Pep's comments then were, we'll get better. So they did. They improved, but then still got fined £1 million for this last season for doing it again. But, yeah, I mean, it's the charge. The more it rumbles on, the more we kind of thought they would get some sort of slap on the wrist, didn't we? And it very much looks like they're not going to be anything serious. They're not getting relegated. They're not suddenly going to lose 40 points to start the season or anything like that. It does make a bit of a mockery about where you can have that hanging over you for 2.5 years. And yes, I know there's investigation time, but the fact that was it December they suggested we would hear in March, and then it's been delayed. It's now the end of June, and we still don't know what the fuck's going on. It is pathetic from that regard. But look, City, you're right, they are marketable. They're never going to be completely hammered. And as somebody put in the background, no podcast, there he is, right on cue.
Right on cue, Roger. Right on cue. Don't jinx it, Roger.
So yeah, I'm assuming that the pop vinyls are going to get knocked down in a minute as well, because he likes to do that.
Killed your connection last time. He fucking disconnected you last time.
Actually, you've just reminded us to put something over the on-off switch, because that's what he did last time. He switched the PC off.
Jack says, Jaws theme tune. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
On a totally unrelated subject, I just found out yesterday that obviously Jaws is, 50 years old this year.
50 years old, yeah. It was doing the
It's going to be, they bring it back to the cinema in August.
Oh, wow.
I am so going to see that. I can't wait.
I want my sharks. Absolutely, mate. As he says, what
a shark porn.
What a British steady. Come on, you've gone really early this time, mate. I tell you, talking about shark porn and everything else as well. But going back to the transfer links, we are going to do a rumour hazard on this lad. But obviously, these links to Scalvini, what a name, by the way. I don't know whether he sounds like a great centre-half or somebody who will put concrete boots on you and throw you into the river in New York. What a great name that is. But this kid has been linked, and it's kind of come out of nowhere. But it's also the lad who, forgive me, the agent name or the journalist name escapes me, but he's the kid who broke the Tonali news as well. So he has a little bit of credence about the kind of stories that he breaks. And this has kind of come out of nowhere now that Scalvini in Newcastle talking about, Atlanta got a big decision to make here. Scalvini's got a big decision to make here. Spoiler alert before we get into RHI tomorrow. He has had a bad injury season last season. That does worry me a little bit, Mark, with the likes of Sven Botman struggling with his fitness. Them two fit and firing, from what I've seen of Scalvini, you're talking about two of the best young centre-halves in European football. But Jack's saying he thinks the same journalist broke the Isaac news as well, so it's obviously very reliable.
Matteo Moretto,
that's classic.
Matteo Moretto.
Sounds like a lager as well. I love it, mate. Absolutely love that. But that's a journalist with a little bit of credibility there as well. And that does excite me seeing this player. Is he left foot or right foot? George is saying he's left foot. Is he right foot? Rest easy, George. He's right-footed, mate. Happy days. Celebrate. But we need a replacement for Fabian Schär long-term. There's no doubt about that. Scalvini's definitely got pace. He's got quality on the ball. I think he can play defensive midfield as well, to be honest with you. But centre-half is probably what they will be signing for. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think the article says that Atlanta won about €70 million or something. I think it is, isn't it?
I don't know. Do you know, as I can't find the actual article. I found the lad's name, but I couldn't find the actual article for it. But it's they're going to want a fair chunk. He is highly rated. You've only got to look and not to break too many of the stats that come for tomorrow, but the number of games that the lad has played between 17 and 20 already in Serie A for let's face it, a decent Atalanta team. They're no mugs. He's had the injury hit season this season. nothing. I don't think anything overly critical. I had a ligament tear, I think, but he was only out for about 17 games with it. It sounds possibly worse than it is. You think that others have missed entire seasons through it. He missed part of it and part with something else. But the previous seasons, he was playing 30 games a season. 17, 18, 19. He's played a good chunk of games already. So he looks definitely, and again, one for the future. It's a kind of sign I think Eddie likes, doesn't he? You can get them in while they're younger, but you can still have a bigger influence over their development and mold them into what he wants. And it's absolutely ideal for that. And I think it's an expensive sign if that's the case, but I think it's definitely a big one for the future. If you can keep that pairing with the potential that they have, with Tino one side, Hall left, and then Botman and Scalvini in the centre, that's a heck of a backline for a good number of years if they can keep and Trafford behind them. And you got to think Tonali's not very old either.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden, the average age of that team is coming down, and they've got longevity in them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an exciting signing, but I think we've already learned so far this window. Don't get too excited too soon, because they will burst your bubble. Dan with a super chat. Oi, lads, how's it going? In 18 months, I'll be living back in Newcastle. Hey, nice to come back home, Dan. Good lad. Be good to go out for a pint when I'm there rocking. You might see us lurking around there. We're like pilot lights now, two dads in my 40s. We very seldom go out, mate. But if we are there, feel free to come and talk to us. Like anybody, come and talk to us if you see us out and about. But I mean, this Scalvini one's interesting, Mark, because I think the Mark Gahey thing, I was looking a little bit about it earlier on. I have a feeling with Mark Gahey that I think he's going to stay at Palace this World Cup year. He wants to try and get in the World Cup squad. I think unless he knows he's going to start for a team, and he could start for Newcastle if he comes, he could start. Yeah. And I think he's really thinking about his next move. And I'm not so worried about Liverpool coming in from, because I don't think he'll start for them as many games as he would do for Newcastle. So I think he's either going to stay at Palace or he'll come to Newcastle potentially. But if we are looking at Scalvini, I think Mark Gahey's decisions may be already made, and that's why they've changed gear and got another player.
Yeah, I mean, from what I read earlier on, that Gahey was open to the Liverpool move, but he wanted guarantees around first team football. I sort of understand it, but at the same time, you're going into an established side that's just won the league with the centre-back pairing that they have. I'm not entirely sure you can make that demand. He's definitely going to be first or second choice for that centre-back role alongside Van Dijk, but I'm not entirely sure you can go in and command that to a side that's just won the league. But that might put him off. And with Palace having Europe, he might consider staying for another season and seeing how well they can progress. If he wants to stay and play in Europe for them, he's guaranteed to play in a World Cup year, exactly like you said. He can put the performances on the international or the European stage in the run up to next year. So you almost suggest to him it'd be crazy to move if you're going to go somewhere where you're going to be fighting for your place.
Absolutely. I think that the positions that concern me probably more than anything, I think the goalkeeper, they look like they've got that locked in. But I think the right winger does concern me, and the backup centre forward concerns me, because we don't know what's happening with Wilson. Obviously, he did a bit of commentary, didn't he, on the World Club Cup, which was an absolute load of shit. We got a little bit of that in Out of Toon, but he come across very well, did Callum Wilson. And I've always said that, he's had his podcast with Antonio. He's got that charisma, he's a good-looking bastard, and I think he's destined for TV, is Callum, but we don't know what's happening with Callum yet. Again, I think a lot of the comments people have made previously, and the more you think about it now, especially with the Trafford noise, is if that transfer is more or less done, and we're not going to declare that till after the PSR deadline, I think the other big signings won't come till after then either. Obviously, Elanga has been heavily linked, is right on cue, as Sean just read my mind there, very quiet on Elanga. I don't think the Elanga one's interesting for me. I was on a true faith the other day. I did see your comment about the the microphones there, ASW, DWNT. One day, mate, we might be able to afford them microphones. The True Faith lads have been doing this a lot longer than us, to be fair, and ladies with Charlotte. But one day we'll be able to afford those microphones. Mark did say to me, "What mics are they?" And I said, "Expensive ones." Was my answer to that. I've got to feel my WhatsApp habit, mate. I can't be spending money on microphones, man.
It was almost as bad as you coming back and saying, "Oh, they were red ones."
Red ones, yeah, exactly. But anyway, so go back to my point. My point there in question is that I did say that I don't think Elanga is the kind of player that gets you to the knockouts of the Champions League. He might get you some good results in the Premier League. I don't think he's worth 50 million quid either. I don't think João Pedro's worth 60 or 70 million quid. I have asked questions about whether the club are shopping in the right area. I mean, I watched the Geordie Journals. I like what they do. I've met Jordan before. He's a lovely lad. And they made the point of Newcastle might be fishing in the wrong pond, really, in terms of the Premier League players, because you're getting a Premier League tax whacked on, aren't you? It's another 20 or 30 million quid mark on the value of these players. I mean, but I do wonder, and they're not Premier League anymore, as Chip was just saying there, is Elanga worth 60? No, he's not. But I do wonder, the noises came out a few months back and it's gone quiet, and I think the valuations come down. I just wonder whether Tyler Diblin and Eddie Howe, I just wonder whether that's something that Howe's got on his radar. He's an Eddie Howe player, and he's a young player like Tino, like Hall before him. He's a young player that Eddie can go, right, the kid's got the raw ingredients that'll take him to the next level. And I just wonder whether for 25 to 40 million, Tyler Diblin might be the one that he goes for rather than a 50 million on Elanga. Still only 23, or whether he goes bigger. I mean, obviously the big one we all talked about was Brian and Burmo, but that looks like wages have priced that out the game right from the get-go. Same as Liam Delap as well, to be fair. But it'd be nice if the club actually said, look, we like both players, but, the demands they're looking for just weren't in our remit. But they don't talk to the club because nobody's there to talk, and that's another problem. So there's a lot of chucked at you there, mate. So pick which one you answer.
What do I unpack from that? Look, yeah, I think you're right. I'll always come back to the argument when people say they're not worth it. Yes, the players aren't worth it to the buying club, but they're worth it to the club that is selling. It always comes back to the Wilfried Zaha test. Palace wanted X amount off Arsenal from. Arsenal said he wasn't worth it. He was worth it to them. The number of points he won them each season, that is appeal, that it was worth it for that. So
just on Martin's comment there, Mark, I don't see the point in that either. That makes no sense to me at all. Chucking Harvey Barnes into a mix to get Elanga. I don't see the point.
I guess it depends on what comes next. I know there's been the links to Jacob Ramsey, which would be another player that's comfortable playing that left-sided forward role as well. So does he do as well as Barnes, though?
Does he do as well as Barnes? Is the end product as good as Barnes?
No, probably not. Well, actually, no, definitely not. Looking at the numbers, he definitely doesn't score enough goals. He definitely doesn't have enough goal contributions that would match up with Harvey Barnes. I think the issue you're going to have with that and with Harvey Barnes is that realistically, he's always got a player ahead of him. And unless Anthony Gordon was to move on, well, this is the question, isn't it? But if Gordon's staying, can you accommodate both? And if you need to improve that right-hand side and centre forward, for example, does Barnes become a make-weight in a transfer for somebody to come in and improve that right-hand side? I do think Elanga is an improvement on Jacob Murphy overall. I'm not sure we see numbers from Jacob Murphy that we've seen. Although to be fair, the last 2 seasons he's been very good. His numbers have been good. Last season his numbers were outstanding. I'm not sure we probably see those numbers again next season. But I think you do need an improvement in that, especially going into the Champions League. I think you need better there. Is Elanga Champions League quality? Is he going to take hold of a Champions League quarter final and do something? But he might. He's still young. He's got an upside to him. The Diblin one, I think, is an interesting concept.
I just have a feeling. Do you know why? Because it's gone quiet as well. That's why I have a feeling it could be one that comes through.
And this is it. There was a comment in here a little moment ago. Just said that or some of the players a smoke screen for others. I can't find it, and I apologise. I will give you a shout if I can find your comment, and I can't.
Blame the cat. It's the cat's fault. It's the cat's fault. The cat deleted the comment.
Yeah, I blame the cat. But you are in there. I'll give you that shout for whoever it was that put it. So apologies. But yeah, I mean, you could be right. I mean, the best business tends to come on the back of links to others. Tonali was one of them. For all the world, all of those links that came in, it was Nicola Barella that was the one being linked. It was one everybody was, is this going to happen? And then all of a sudden, it was the other Milan side that suddenly Newcastle was shopping at. Yeah. So it could very well be that there's noise around 3 or 4 players and Newcastle go in a completely different direction. It wouldn't surprise me. And for me, it's the best way to be doing it. It has to be kept quiet. You can't have leaks like that. Certainly.
It was Philip P, says Roger.
Philip,
thanks,
thank
Roger.
you very much. I apologise.
There's a mod job for you in the future, Roger. We'll keep
actually. One of the things I wanted to sort of ask it to sort of if some of the members do want to become moderators for the channel going forward and things like that. That's a separate one. So Diblin, I like it. Again,
I think Hal could really improve him, Mark. I think he'd really improve him as a player.
But again, he's of that age where he's already made an impact on the league. He's already shown that he can do it. Yes, he's had up and downs, and he was playing for a god-awful football side this season. But he stood out, and I think that's quite telling. He's still young. He's got a lot of upside that he can improve massively. And under Eddie's tutelage, we've seen what he's done with the players that were gone, where everybody had written them off. It takes those young players and makes them into something special. And at that price as well, if you're going to get Tyler Diblin for, and look, it's finger in the air sort of time, but I don't think you're going to have to pay anything near 60, 70 million that Southampton wanted 6 months ago.
And he's possibly got a higher ceiling than Elanga and guys like that. Colin said he reckons Elanga would fire under Eddie Howe. We also think so would João Pedro. And he says, hi to you too, Colin. Thank you very much. I don't know if the comments came the other way on. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Chippers has kind of stole me thunder a bit there. Liverpool have to offload Diaz. Not so easy when they want massive money to get Gordon. But I generally do think something will happen with Liverpool in that position. I think Liverpool like the player, Anthony Gordon. I think Anthony Gordon likes the idea of playing for Liverpool, and you can't really blame him. He's not from this area. He's a Liverpool lad. I think he's a Liverpool fan. Just won the title. They're investing really well. With Wirtz and a couple of the fullbacks as well, aren't they? As well, do you know what I mean? They're very good players. And if Anthony Gordon could be part of that new slot Liverpool side, I'm sure he would be interested in. I wouldn't hold it against him. I wouldn't have it. Weirdly enough, with Gordon, if it was Gordon or Barnes to go and one stays, you've still got a genuinely really good Premier League left winger, left-sided player to play for the football club. So it's not like you're going to go out and spend 50 million quid on a replacement. We're going to talk about breakthroughs in a second. We might have a little surprise in terms of who comes through as well with some of the contracts that have just been agreed. But I think just kind of round up on the transfers, Mark, I don't think we're going to see the activity until the end of the month. I think my biggest criticism about the club at the minute is the lack of any kind of interaction from behind the scenes. I think Eddie Howe has been carrying that for the majority of last season. He's been answering questions in press conferences that he shouldn't have been. The director of football thing didn't work at all. The Dan Ashworth thing was a bad appointment because the little shithouse wanted a better job. And then Mitchell was a bad appointment because I think he just was not the right character to gel with the manager. So, Eddie Howe's won the cup. His stock has risen at this football club to levels that were way beyond it was previously because of what he did. They've obviously, looked at it and thought, right, we need to work with Eddie. I don't know whether they need to ditch the director of football thing or whether they just need to get one that will work with him in tandem and let Eddie do the football bit and the director of football does the other bit. But I think Chip, as I said before, the lack of commercial sponsorship deals are there. There's no new training ground. The stadium's gone quiet. It's a lot of the kind of commercial stuff from this, commercial dream team that was supposed to be in place in Newcastle has all gone a bit shit, really, hasn't it? And I think that that almost casts a bit of doubt as well. Not just on new players coming in, but the existing players. Like, what the fuck's the plan here? What's going on? And if they don't go and sign some good footballers this transfer window, not only will it massively piss the supporters off, even the biggest Kool-Aid swiggers who are choking down bottles of Kool-Aid by the gallon, even they'll start asking what the fuck's going on. But Eddie Howe will be pissed off because that'll then be, 4 windows he's not been backed in, arguably 5 windows he's not been backed in. Alexander Isak will be going, well, where the fuck are the players? Why am I supposed to sign a new contract? So Ollie might start asking questions, Bruno, the whole lot. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying it's really important that the club pull a finger out of their arse and sort this window out, and also start doing some more commercial deals, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, the commercial thing is weird, isn't it? Because there's all this possibility with training kit sponsors, and we've seen it from the others. I do wonder whether the Man City charges
they're waiting for that potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they can go nuts.
Well, that's all.
I think the stadium. I think purposely it probably has to be. You go back to the petition around the Leazes Park thing, and the council were like, well, actually nothing's been submitted yet, so there's nothing to protest. Until we get something, there's literally nothing to do. The stuff in the background would worry us, and when you see that your second sporting director football go within the space of 12 to 18 months, it doesn't look very good. And the fact that there then seems to be other stuff that's ticking and boiling away in the background. You've got an outgoing CEO that they haven't replaced yet, and this is all on the coming up to and into a transfer window again. It's got to make you stop and think, can they put this right? And they surely they've got the means to go and buy players. I think that's been the problem the last couple of windows is the finances are just not suited because of PSR. I think those restrictions aren't there as much for this season, so the ability to go out in July and go and spend some money, go and bring in those players is there. But the worry is the fact that the background stuff isn't sorted out, and you haven't got a proper team in place that the club clearly want. They want a director of football or somebody in that sporting director role. I know they're linked with the guy from Liverpool as well, last week or the week before. But it is an issue. It is a worry because you have to have the plans in place and the people around to do the job. So yeah, but look, as an update, there was not really much of one. But it is. I do think you're right. You said at the very beginning. I think come towards the end of this month, in this last week, and in the beginning of July, we'll see movement. There has to be movement now.
I think that does. I mean, people are growing very, very restless about what's going on, and I just hope that the club, understand how important this window was, not only to the supporters but vitally to Eddie Howe, who at the minute is the most important guy at the football club, bar none. Because without him last season, he wouldn't have got Champions League and he wouldn't have got a cup. He whatever criticism was lobbied at him last season, and at times it was warranted. I think he showed everybody, what he was capable of as a coach. And getting that league finish and getting that cup win with pretty much the same squad he's had for the last 3 or 4 windows was very impressive. But moving on from players we can bring in to players that we're growing within. So we thought we would do this one because obviously these 3 boys in particular signed professional contract extensions. We've seen a couple of them around the first team already, but this is also a kind of double one mark because if we are struggling to bring in players, we might have to elevate the players from within. And I think there's a little bit of an element of that with Eddie Howe that he's maybe said, look, if we are going to struggle to get these players in, I want these 3 lads to sign up, professional contract extensions or new contracts or first contracts, whatever it may be. So the first one that signed a new contract was Sean Need. So we've seen this young centre forward on the bench a couple of times. He's had no minutes, I believe, but the last season, mixture of all the things that he played, in 17 appearances, the young lad got 11 goals and 4 assists. I don't care what level you play at, that's pretty impressive stats. What I've seen, he's obviously he's a tall lad. He's quite strong. He uses the ball well. He's got good close control, nice movement. Runs in behind defenders, got a little bit of speed to him, and the boy can finish as well. And if my God, Newcastle United need strikers coming through. I mean, off the top of my head, if you think about good centre forwards that have come through youth academy since we've been watching Newcastle, outside of probably Carroll, and you can't even say Armstrong really, outside of Andy Carroll, there's probably never been anybody really who's come through that youth academy. All those players, we had Niall Ranger, we had pretty Ivan Toney at one point. We haven't really seen anyone of any real note coming through the academy as a centre forward. This kid could really do something for us, couldn't he? And it's good to see him getting that new professional contract. Do you think he will be in and around the squad, or do you think we'll loan him out, or will that be dependent on the centre forward position?
I suppose it depends ultimately who comes in.
Yeah.
If anybody does come in, maybe he needs a better move than some of the other players have got previously. And probably if you and I can only judge it on what I've seen in some of the videos that I've seen. He does look like a finisher. He does look slight, although he does tend to be quite strong. I think if
look
at a higher level,
Miley in the pre-season, he probably just get the Joe Linton weightlifting DVD, and you'll come back a beast, won't you? To be fair, man,
get him in the gym with Joe, and he'll bulk up a little bit. But a player of that potential coming through, you're right, really not been seen recently. There's been a couple that have knocked in around the first team, but haven't really come to anything. It's been a little bit frustrating from that point of view, but he can potentially take that step up. He's been in and around the first team squad, so he's obviously he's been training with them. He's been learning about what Eddie Howe wants from his first team players, which is crucial.
Watching Isaac as well, even watching Wilson before he
Callum Wilson,
off a bit. Yeah.
And this is why I wasn't, as many probably were, I wasn't so against Callum Wilson maybe he's getting an additional year based on a pay-as-you-play, because to have him in and around that squad, especially with somebody like Asulu and somebody like Neve to learn
about how you run, about your movements, about your position. Yeah, exactly.
There aren't many better at that from where he was in his prime. Yes, he's not at that level anymore, but the knowledge is there. The ability has been there and then to be able to, if he can pass that on, I think that's invaluable. And certainly he's definitely one that could take that step up. Whether or not he will, we'll see in the future. But there's definitely potential there, and the fact that Eddie's been willing to bring him into the first team squad, and obviously he was on the bench for the final, wasn't he? So granted, some of that is enforced by injuries and availability of others, but the fact that he's been trusted to come and play a part is very telling. And the goal return is decent. It's at its level, but it's a good return for a young lad.
No, there's definitely. I mean, I know some people have been sceptical there. I've seen some comments before, I think, from Stephen saying that he thinks he might be another Adam Armstrong, because we haven't had many coming through. But I always look at that City academy, and even if they didn't get into the City first team, you list the players off, man. Trafford, we're talking about signing, Morgan Rogers, Cole Palmer, these players, man. Like McAtee as well, went out on loan for a few seasons, come back, he's still there. Foden came through. A lot of these quality young players, was it Sancho was there as well. Even if they don't make the grade with us, we could sell them on and have sell-on fees and all sorts of stuff. So it could be that. But I think there comes a time, I think, where Eddie Howe might have to say, what, some of these guys' race is kind of run, and I may need to reward some of these young players. The other player who came up, and I really like what I saw here, and I was watching, I think the Geordie Journos said this, that you wouldn't put a kid in front of the cameras like they did if they didn't think he was going to be something. And I have a feeling this kid might make his debut next season. And I think a lot of it will be dependent on what happens with Kieran Trippier. And it's the young right back, Leo Shahar, who we got from Wolves. I don't know if you saw the video. It was a day in the life of him. It was so impressive, Mark, for a young lad. He spoke so well, so level-headed. Again, it's hard unless you go and watch the academy, which I think, shout out to the lads at Newcastle Fan TV. They do watch lads, the young lads. I think they're playing South Shields soon. We said we might go check that out, didn't we, as well, to be fair. But watching the young lad from the clips that I saw, certainly in terms of just the general scouting reports, very quick, gets up and down as a fullback, good defensive positional sense, whip the ball into, can finish. I saw him score a brilliant goal when the battered, I think it was Bristol 7-1 or something like that. He got a goal and a couple of assists, I think, as well. But again, as Jack says there, he spoke really well in the video and was really impressed with him as a character. He's been training with the first team for a long time. What is he? He's like 17 or something like that, I think. And to train with the first team at that age mark, and to be trying to mark like Isaac running at you and Gordon running at you. He's 18 years old. Is Leo Shahar? I think this kid could have a big future with his man. I'm excited to see what he does. He's obviously represented England as well at youth academy level, so there's definitely a player there.
Yeah, I mean the character is huge. I think you nailed that on the head, Jack, with your comment. Yeah. I do have that video on my watch list to watch. I haven't actually watched it yet, so I will get to that. But again, from what you watch of him, particularly his performances in sort of in that England under 18s and stuff, he's very, very calm. He's good on the ball. I think from what I've read about him as well from his days earlier, that he's comfortable playing further forward too, so he can play in mid, a little bit Lewis Hall-esque in that he could be comfortable in midfield too. So always good for a fullback in the modern day to be very, very. I'm really sorry, Chivas. No, absolutely not.
Wouldn't. No. He draws the line at that one, mate. He draws the line at that one, honestly.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, like I say, a little bit Lewis Hall, that's really good ability on the ball. As I say, modern day fullback, they have to be better on the ball than the ones just put the ball up the line, Gary Neville-esque, just run on and just get it to your winger and that's it. Lee Dixons of the world that never crossed the halfway line. If they did, they used to get nosebleeds. He looks the part, and again, just looks so assured. And he probably is, I think, is more of a standout than the others. I think he potentially he has the much higher ceiling than any of the other players that are in and around that squad at the moment.
Arguably, I mean, you look at Miley when Miley came through, and all that talk about Miley was there previously in terms of this kid is unbelievable. He's sensational at this level. And then he come in the first team, and I don't think anyone's thought he would just walk in and did what he did with relative ease. And if Shahar's the same, I mean, that might dictate Kieran Trippier's decision. If he looks at this kid coming through, Kieran Trippier strikes me as the type of guy, if he sees this young lad coming through, he might think, I don't want to be a roadblock in the way of this kid's development. And he might think, I'll go and let the kid come through. But I do think that having Trippier around as a coach would be unbelievable. And the same reasons you said for Wilson, for this young kid and Tino as well. I mean, what better fullback to learn from, in terms of that guy. And he might not play as many games next season, and he probably shouldn't. But if he's on the training pitch with these lads going, do you know what, Leo, right, drop a yard there, step out to the left or the right. And when you watch them videos, what I loved about Shahar was he was saying, I come in here and I watch videos of the wingers I'm playing against, and I think to myself, do I need to go this way or drop deep or step? And I thought, that's an 18-year-old lad. Look at the level of detail he's putting into his game. And it was really impressive. And I agree with the Geordie Journals. I think he'll make his debut next season, whether it's in one of the cups or something like that. Yeah. I do think this young boy will make his debut. But we'll see these lads in pre-season, I think, as well. And it'll be really interesting to see what they do. I mean, the last one we're going to talk about is a lad that we saw already, and we got quite excited when we saw him because this was pre-Jacob Murphy discovering that he could play football and get assists. So we were crying out for a winger, and Trevon Sanasu came into the equation. It was against Bromley, wasn't it? And he was fucking unbelievable against Bromley. He was very Maxi-like, wasn't he? He was doing tricks and flicks and all sorts of stuff. And then he would lose the ball, and you go, "What are you doing?" And he would get the ball back. Then he would do a Cruyff turn or a fucking 360 spin, And you would kind of look at him thinking, is this kid brilliant, or does he just not know what he's doing? But there's been a lot of hype about Sanusi in the youth academy, and we did see a nice flash. I think he got a bad injury, last season as well, because he only managed 9 games. I think in the Premier League 2 season, we had 17 games overall. No goals, no assists, but you can play right wing or left wing, or you can play left sided midfield or centre midfield. But I mean, the kid's got some quality in them boots, mate, hasn't he?
He loves a dribble. He's got that ability to.
That's what you said after watching them Bonnie Blue videos, wasn't it? So that's for you, Chippers.
Thanks very much.
Sorry, let's get serious now.
He does. His ability to drop a shoulder and move the body, very, very Maxi-esque in the fact that he's quite unpredictable. You watch some of the footage of him; he does draw fouls really well. I actually liken him in that to a little bit of maybe he's not in his movement or not in that ability to shift one way or the other. A little bit like Grealish, he does draw contact really well. And yes, I know Jack Grealish spends an awful lot of time on the deck, but he does draw fouls and
does.
A bit like Bruno, I guess in that regard, he encourages contact, but you also see him bounce away from that as well, and he does have good close control. I think end product wise, that's where at the moment it's not there for him.
Does he need a loan? Or is he?
I think
you've got the young Spanish boy who's looked good in the international this pre-season. Does Sanusi need a loan at the Championship or League One or something to try and toughen him up and get that end product in there?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because you want to try and develop him within in-house for him. He's only 18, and he's just turned, hasn't he? In April, so he's not. Maybe he's another year within the club to see how you develop and playing those Premier League 2 games, playing against that next level before looking at that. Because it might be that he breaks out from there.
It could be dangerous off the bench, though, couldn't he? Just running at tired legs for the last 10 minutes of the game. A player like that would scare the shit out of you as an aging fullback.
Absolutely, and he probably needs another season of development in and around the squad. Be with the first team, a little bit like Shahar and a little bit like Neve and Miley. Obviously, going back to when Miley was doing that, he needs that. He needs that time, I think, with them. It's always trouble with a young lad like that when they're 18, 17, 18 to suddenly to get to that point where you've not had an awful lot of experience in and around the first team to suddenly get thrown out to a club you're not familiar with manager and other players that you're not familiar with. Really difficult to kind of to make that step up, and I think it's finding the right move. And if they get that wrong, Garang Kwol is a prime example of that. If you get the wrong move, then it can set them back. And he's looked better last season.
He certainly has, but I'm not sure what's going on with him though, mate.
No,
I think he might go. I think they might ship them out.
But Sanusi is definitely one that again has the potential. There's a little bit of a little maverick, isn't he? He's not quite. He's not predictable, and that's some of that. I think moves away from what Eddie Howe likes. But at the same time, if you're going to come on and just be a little bit of a difference maker for 20 minutes at the end of the game, when players are starting to get a little bit jaded, and this live wire comes on. All of a sudden, he's picking up free kicks and penalties and all sorts around the box, and that could be a game changing moment.
And excites the crowd, gets the crowd up as well. Because we players like that does. When St James is maybe going a bit flat, and you bring a kid like that on, he starts doing stuff. But Jack's made a good point. A busy campaign, the best way to break these lads in. It was good for Miley, and I agree with Stephen. Miley needs more minutes. I think Miley needs a pre-season. We'll just quickly touch on Miley and Will Asula because they're kind of young players too. But they've already gotten to the first team. But Miley needs an uninterrupted pre-season.
Yes.
No injuries. He needs to be able to play games in pre-season, show us what he can do. He went away, bulked up last summer, come back, started having goals to his game, as well as that ability in the ball. He started nailing players as well, filled out, and I like that, because that's what we need in that midfield. You need to be physical in that midfield, because when Joe Litton's out, we lose all that physicality. Bruno tires, we lose Bruno's physicality as well and his ability to, get stuck in and wind players up and all that stuff. And Miley's kind of learning off three of the best different type of midfielders you can learn from. Tonali's kind of calmness and quality on the ball, Bruno's ability to get in the final third and make things happen. Then Joe Linton's just pure bestiality, monster streak of just knocking people on their arse. So Miley's watching these three and taking bits out of the game. But I'd be really excited to see Miley with a good pre-season mark come back, because there's lots of football next season. This talk of selling them is nonsense to me, because Bruno fucked last season and we only had the Premier League and the domestic cups. He cannot play 60-odd games for Newcastle next season. Being totally fucked. So Miley will play.
Yeah, definitely. And just for Chipaz's benefit, that was bestiality, not bestiality. Just before anybody gets that in the comments.
Don't encourage him. You could let that one go. You're encouraging him. You're pulling him back to the Blues. Back to the Blue.
Can't help it. Can't help it now. You've opened Pandora's box, and that's not another video I've watched, Chipaz. Yeah, look, I think you're right. Miley needs that full preseason this season. We've seen what he is good at, and we've seen what level he can play at. I think he will get more minutes this season, because there is much more football to come. And it's, again, I think the comment in there before about being sort of the first choice in midfield. Sean, I think it is there. Miley needs to be first changes. Yeah. As a midfield sub.
It's not a ridiculous shout, because I think the kid brings so much to the game. His composure on the ball, his ability, his vision of pass, at 19 years old, 18 years old, is fucking ridiculous, man. It really is.
Yeah, I guess it's game dependent as well. If you need more physicality on the field, maybe somebody else coming into that role is right. But his eye to be able to play sort of that higher up Bruno-esque player, where he's got that movement about him. He can find those little areas outside the ball, those through balls that we've seen.
Forrest and Bromley, though, when he got them goals, he's got the game as well, isn't he?
Absolutely, and that's where I think he will thrive in those sort of more forward areas. I don't think coming on as a 6 will particularly suit him. No. We've seen him do it. He can. But his better performances have been when he's been higher up the field.
I think so. I agree with that. I think, the assist for Isak and Joe Linton in the Champions League, he's right up there on the edge of the box, isn't he? And in that moment, he's so calm. And you think, sometimes Bruno makes the wrong decision. You know what I mean? And you think the kid needs more games. But I think with Howe, I think he's trying to protect Miley, not giving him too much, too young. But there will come a tipping point, I think, where the boy needs to just play. And I think, Howe rates him massively, because he has come out and said, that he does believe in him. Stephen's saying he's got some doubts there about whether Howe believes in him. I really think he does believe in him, because he's come out and squashed rumours of him leaving very quickly. I think he knows Bruno is, towards the back end of his 20s now. We'll get another 2-3 seasons out of Bruno max, and I think Miley will be the one that steps into that role. When that day comes. So yeah, I do think he does believe in Lewis Miley. But yeah, exciting for these young lads, and a good pre-season could just make the manager ask a few questions about whether they should be involved a bit more, mate. But moving on to the next section, I won't spend too long on this. No. But there was something I wanted to talk about. It's kind of a mini rant, I suppose, for anyone who's still awake and still with me. Strap in. So I've seen a lot of criticism over the summer so far towards content creators, a couple of creators in particular who are good friends of this channel, and we're friends of theirs. And I just think it's completely unnecessary. I really do. Whether YouTube is your thing or not, we've got a great community here. We're all having a crack here in the chat, a good bit of banter. You guys know this is a safe place to talk to us. We like talking to you. We're two normal guys who do a channel. We work for a living. We've got kids. We've got households that we run and all of that. We do this for the fun of it, right? YouTube, you're not naive a lot. YouTube gets to a point where the channel gets to a certain level and you can make something out of it, right? But if any of these people who are trolling these other content creators, right, are thinking that they're getting private jets to fucking the Bahamas, or that their yachts are parked in the River Tyne, you give your fucking head a shake. Because I tell you right now, you can't make that level of money off YouTube until you're at fucking True Geordie level, Logan Paul level, KSI level. These guys have got millions of subscribers and their own companies, and they make fucking pop that kids went nuts for a few years ago, right? The likes of fucking Toon Review and Matty and even the True Faith guys, right? They're not fucking buying mansions in Darris Hall with that YouTube or that fucking Spotify money, right? The fans who do this for the passion of the football club, and they've got creative souls and they want to create and they want to do things. Me and Mark enjoy doing this. We're creative on this. We come up with ideas. I jump behind the mic. Mark does all the designs and stuff. He jumps on the mic with me too. We enjoy this. We enjoy talking about football, right? And if you don't like what people are doing, right, it takes nothing to just don't watch it. Close down the video, swipe fucking I'm not interested, and just move on. These people who feel the need to jump into people's comments and dig them out and give them shit is just completely unnecessary, right? There's too many arseholes in the world right now. I'm not getting political here, right? But half the world's trying to fucking bomb each other, right? Be better than that. Don't give somebody shit in the comments. We don't like what they do. Just fucking ignore it and move by. You don't need to sit and abuse somebody who's poured their heart and soul into doing something for the community that watches them, or for their enjoyment of having that creative release. For a lot of people, it's a stress reliever. It keeps them level. We've had people in our comments, Mark, haven't we, who have been going through some fucking bad times. I remember last year, some poor lad, his dad was dying in hospital, and when he was waiting in the waiting room and in the horrible corridors of hospitals, and I've been there myself, because my mother died not so long back there, a few years back. It's a horrible place to be. And this lad lost himself in a YouTube channel like ours, listening to people talking about football that he loves. And fuck you lot who are going to give people abuse for that and upset these people who create content to the point where, they're talking about it on their channels. I'm talking about it on mine, right? Stop being a knob and just fucking don't watch it. That's all I'm saying, mate. I will breathe, Mark, and let you have a more sensible, logical rebuttal to that.
I mean, my point with all this is be critical, be constructive. If you don't like something, say why. Not the abuse is one thing. It's ridiculous. There's absolutely no need for it. I've seen some of the levels of criticism of. There was a comment earlier on from somebody that actually isn't there anymore. We haven't removed it, so that wasn't on us. I don't know whether the person that posted that removed it. I haven't been able to see it again.
And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you say something and you go, shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And you delete it, and that's cool. That shows a little bit of self-awareness, doesn't it?
It does. But actually, I didn't disagree with what he says. Is if we have the ability to go out and criticize the football team, criticize players, criticize the manager, etc., then you expect to get criticism yourself. Fine. Yeah. I handle criticism. I don't mind that at all. It's when it takes that level beyond that, and when you suddenly have people that just purely put comments on, and we've seen it particularly with other channels, and yes. Not so much with ours. And there's a little bit of it, but not so much.
The odd little one here and there. Yeah.
When you get people who like Paul, who go on and do their daily news, for some people, that's gathering all the news in one place. So they don't want to go out and go to this website, to that website, to start trawling through X. They might not use X and things like that. So they get their information for that day from a channel. Nothing more different than you watching Sky Sports or anything like that. It's putting, and from what Paul does, it's those small bite-sized sort of stuff in the middle of the day that he puts out with what's going on that particular day. That's what some people like. They like that little bite-sized stuff to take in, but it's the people that come in and just, it's just repeating what's else. Yes, that's the point. It is reporting on what's news. It's a little bit like our rumor has it. We're reporting, or we're not reporting, but we're commenting about players that are reported in the news. We don't do ITK. We're very adamant about the fact that none of the stuff that we say has come from sources or from any kind of links like that. It all comes from what's being reported in the news. Yes, we're gonna regurgitate. We're gonna talk about it, but we're gonna give our slant on it. We'll give you the stats, which you don't see from sort of a lot of the mainstream media stuff. They don't do comparisons and things like that, which is one of the things that we do, and I know other channels do as well. If you don't like it, like Chris says, you don't have to watch it, and be fine, be critical, give feedback, but leave the abuse for some of them alone, because some of them is just ridiculous, and it isn't just those ones that you mentioned. It's others. It's the likes of of Josh. I've seen somebody put the comment in there.
Yeah, Josh. He's a good lad. He's just a young lad trying to have a go at it. You know what I mean?
The same with Adam as well. I mean, Adam Pearson's another one who gets it. Yeah, he might not be your cup of tea. I'll be honest. I don't sit and watch all of his videos at all. But he's got a following. He's got a channel that he's doing all right with.
What harm is he doing? What harm is he doing to these people? That's the bit I don't get. What harm is it doing to you? Quite often, sorry, Martin, quite often, these people who slag these people off, right, either haven't got the balls or the charisma or the creativity to do anything close to what these people are doing. And I think it's almost out of a bit of jealousy, a bit of envy that why can these guys put themselves there? Why can't I do that? Or I know what I'll do. I'll just be a complete and utter fucking helmet in that comments. And that's going to make me feel really good for all of about 3 seconds. And what I love as well, as you say, Mark, we've had limited abuse. I've probably got shitloads of abuse now after this rant, by the way.
Just wait till tomorrow.
Just rolling. But what I love is like the community like ours, when people try and dig it in, they jump on them and they say, hey, no, piss off. You know what I mean? We don't need your shit here. And I love that. And the Toon Review have that in their communities. I'm sure Matty's got it in his as well. And Gallagher, Shots Lads, everybody else. Because the people who watch them because they like what they do. You know, and what they do resonates with that person. It doesn't resonate with you, fine. Fuck off and go stare at the wall or yell in a cup or something like that. You fucking sad little.
You love that saying, don't you? Yell in a cup.
That cup is massive, by the way. It's huge. It's as big as a Carabao cup. But as if you don't like somebody's shit, just go. If you didn't like the pub you're in, you'd leave and go to another pub. If you didn't like the TV station, you'd change your channel. Just why give people shit? Exactly. You don't watch EastEnders, chippers, exactly. But why feel the need to use all of that energy for a negative reason? I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
On the flip side, I agree completely with Ty. Content creators, one thing, INTK is a bunch. Yeah, exactly. I cannot disagree.
They are quite bad.
I despise the. I have sources. I've got all these links with this. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Playing spotters and all that other stuff. But just to round up on it, because we'll be here all night. Just to round up on it, right? If these people are creating content, whether it's their job, whether it's their main source of income, whether it's just something they like to do, just let them get on with it. It's no real concern of yours. Just get on with it. That's all I'm going to say.
Fucking men.
Last section and the favourite section, the best section that we do, is when we talk. Yes, Mark loves it. When we talk about things that are out of tune rather than in tune. So we're talking about it before. Obviously, the World Club Cup competition. Basically, let's just make loads of fucking money. Is what it's called by men in suits. It's obviously going on. A lot of clubs are playing in it. Probably quite good for us in terms of some of the Champions League rivals, Mark, because they might be knackered from these ridiculously long pre-seasons. But there was something that happened in particular in the Chelsea and Flamingo game, which was this. Masterstroke by Nicholas Jackson.
Wonderful shot.
I remember the Jacksons once saying they can't control their feet and blame it on the boogie. I don't think this fucker can either. Because I mean, to do that in a pre-season game is ridiculous. It's a straight red card. He got absolutely battered by his own fan base who went to watch it. His own fan base who were watching all over the world. But then, almost hilariously, I'm gonna let you take over the screens here because Flamingo. Chef's kiss of shithousery. These lot went to town on Chelsea, didn't they?
I absolutely loved Flamengo's admin on their social media deserves an award because as that game is was coming to kick off and obviously going on through the game, you started to get comments from Flamengo's admin.
I love that.
Too hot for Cole Palmer. I love it. Brilliant. Chelsea had put a message on saying the Lions always king, to which Flamengo then reposted with the message, when the lion dies, the vulture becomes king. Again, just absolutely magical responses to this. Some of these were deleted. I'm very disappointed that they were deleted.
I'm glad you saved them before they were deleted.
Oh, I love that one. This one I love. And turning from a lion into an ant is just brilliant. Amazing. There's another one where did the Chelsea fans go, having given it the big uns. It was then So some Chelsea fan had gone back to him, so your tears were beautiful the full time, to which the response, Chelsea is just a small neighbourhood in London. It's just terrific banter. The last one, which I thought was probably their best one, was this one. An easy win against London Blue, and even used the Pez badge.
Love it.
To do
Absolutely
it.
love
Whoever is in charge of Flamengo's social media platform, who they did actually put a message out, because some people, when those started to get deleted, somebody had suggested that he'd been sacked, and they were very quick to come back and say, no, he hasn't. Brilliant. And this is it. I like that sort of banter, that sort of stuff on social media is what social media should be. It really should be. Good night, Jack. That it's just so much fun. And I love it. And that's what this part is. This is what this should be about. It's about picking up on those things to really laugh at, because I just thought it was brilliant.
Oh, it was absolutely class, and there's loads of stuff going on. Obviously, over the summer, we saw Trent Alexander-Arnold make his debut for Real Madrid. Not particularly great one either. Looked very shaky as well after all the media furore. I love this Spanish, by the way, especially when people started asking him what level of Duolingo he got up to, which I thought was great banter by the press, in all fairness, by Trent Alexander-Arnold. Somebody said, "How long have you been learning it?" And he went a couple of months. I think, smiled. I thought, I fuck up. You've been learning that for about 3 years.
I think that didn't sit too well with some, because he's obviously been doing it for quite some time. Knowing full.
Tres años, fucking Trent, exactly, mate. Fuck that. But yeah, so that was interesting to watch. There's been a few things going on. Transfers obviously been the main thing doing the rounds. Obviously, we've seen Thomas Frank go to Spurs. Which is a good move for Thomas Frank, good move for Spurs as well, to be fair. Not too sure about Keith Andrew coming in as the Brentford manager. That's a bit of a roll of the dice.
Was he the set piece coach?
He was the set piece
right?
coach.
Yeah.
And, he used to obviously play for Blackburn. Did he play for Ireland? He was a championship pundit for Sky. He might be brilliant for all I know, do you know what I mean? But it just seems a bit shaky, that one. I would definitely keep an eye on Brentford next season, obviously for losing Burnley as well, and if Frank takes someone like Wisa with him as well, the Spurs, that could be a very interesting thing. And obviously our good old friends at Manchester United, they're still beavering away in the background. Obviously they've signed Cunha, they're trying to sign in Burmo, they're trying to sign every striker in the world. Gyökeres doesn't look like he's going to go there anymore, could go to Arsenal again. There'll be loads of this stuff to go through in the summer. But one player who's caused some stir, it must be said, with his social media posts, and he upset a certain content creator who loves to talk about United in the shape of Mark Goldbridge. And it was this fella here, for those on the audio. This is Garnacho's infamous social media post. Actually, I've got something to say about Rashford as well in a minute. But he was pictured wearing a Marcus Rashford Aston Villa number 9 shirt next to his very expensive motors in Ibiza. Now, this, Mark, there's two things to ask. I know where I stand on it. I think I know where you stand on it. But the questions to ask is this an overreaction from the likes of Goldbridge, the Man United fans, or is Garnacho just that fucking stupid that he kind of has opened himself up for abuse here?
I think some of it's an overreaction, but not all of it. Good evening, Michael.
Good to see you, Michael. Oh, thanks for popping your cherry this evening.
Dear.
Welcome to the party.
I mean, Garnacho's a bit of an idiot. We know this. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. The optics of that are horrendous. To be wearing... And let's get this right.
Did he tag Rashford? Did he say "my boy's shirt" or something like that, or was it just?
I can't remember what the actual comment was now. But
I'll try and find it.
But it's the optics of wearing a rival in the league, and all 20 sides in the Premier League are rivals because they're all playing in the same competition. They're not maybe direct rivals like Manchester United and Liverpool might be, but they're still rivals in that regard. To be wearing a shirt like that, especially if a player who is much maligned at your club, who's been at that other club on loan and done a decent job. And let's also not forget that Garnacho has been linked to Aston Villa as a transfer this summer.
No tag of Rashford at all.
So the optics of that are awful. I kind of lined it before. What if you saw Bruno during the summer wearing a Manchester City shirt? It's just going to look awful. And I kind of get it from Goldbridge's perspective. I get it. You're going to be angry with that because I'm sorry, I don't want one of my players wearing the shirt of an opposition side. If that player was a fan of that club, then I'm more accepting of it. As an example, would you go back to, we were talking about Grealish earlier. Grealish wears a Villa shirt. I'm not really going to lose any sleep over it because he's grown up as a Villa fan. He's all of that link. Yeah. That's not so bad. Elliot Anderson wearing a Newcastle shirt, in the ground for whatever. He's going to go and support his hometown club. That fine. I don't have a problem with that. But this is a player that's got no links to the club. He's got no links to Villa whatsoever, other than transfer links. Just doesn't sit right with me at all.
Yeah, and he does seem like a little bit of a cock, doesn't he, as well, Garnacho? Not to be too eloquent. He's like a pound shop Cristiano Ronaldo, and he thinks because he styles his hair and he poses next to fancy motors, that he's got that Ronaldo vibe. He has not got that Ronaldo vibe. He is capable of little moments of magic here and there, but not consistently. And this is the immaturity of a player, and I think this is players having the wrong people around them as well, because the optics are dreadful, as you say. Anybody who's with him go, fucking hell, can get that shit off of it. Can I post that up? So he's had ample opportunity before he's posted that to think about it. And if the kid's thought about it and he still thinks it's a good idea, then that's even worse. And that's really poor judgment on the part of Garnacho. And I think he's definitely going to leave Manchester United. There ain't no doubt about it at all. And I think this is just... Yeah. This is just going to help shove them through the door, really. I don't think that Amram wants him around anyway. Certainly if they get in Burma when they'll not need him around. But the Rashford thing is funny, just I suppose to finish on that one as well. So the Marcus Rashford thing, obviously there's been lots of links to Marcus Rashford. There was a little bit of a paper talk link, I think it was from the Sun, of all things, take it with a pinch, about Newcastle may be interested in him on loan, which I just can't see happening. And to be fair, I think Porton Review did a video on it and he got abused for that. But all he was doing, as you say, Mark, was just talking about what was in the press, which is absolutely fine. But going back to Rashford, so there's obviously been all these links over the summer, right? Barcelona in particular, right? Who, in case Marcus Rashford didn't realise, they have no fucking money, right? They're pretty much skin, right? And he was talking about playing for Barcelona. And I think someone was talking about playing with Yamal. And he was like, well, obviously you want to play the best players in the world and you never know. And I thought, that's fucking terrible as well, really, because not only does that look bad that you're trying to angle for a move. It's clear that Amram doesn't want you there. Manchester United want to sell you, but no one will take you on your wages. But just play it a little bit smarter, man. Just go, look, I'm not going to speculate on moves. I'm a Manchester United player. As we sit here right now, things may change, but that'll be a bit. It's like, and you can't even accuse Marcus Rashford of being thick, because this is a kid who is very articulate, very intelligent. Look what he did for the free school meals when he went to the government, right? He's not a thick lad, as Marcus Rashford. I did see Banana doing a very interesting video the other day about talking about the press trying to destroy his reputation. And I do agree with that. I think there is, once the press are locked in on you, they'll have you. Anything you do, they'll go for you. I think they've already got the knives out for Thomas Tuchel as well, which is an interesting one. We'll keep an eye on through the season. But I think Rashford's got to be smarter than that, Mark, hasn't he? He can't be drawing into stupid comments like that about where he's going and who he's playing with.
It's for him, I guess, his time at Man U is done. He's not.
So he doesn't care anymore. Then he's not bothered about it anymore.
To a point, he has to try and angle that move. He knows Amarin doesn't want him. He's not going to play there. The fact that he was allowed to go out on loan to a Premier League side says everything you need to know about that. But I think from his point of view, he has to angle for a move, and he's got to be realistic with where he goes. He's got to be affordable for these sides as well. And his wage demands for anybody outside of some of the biggest clubs of the world are not achievable. He's never going to get paid £300,000 a week plus to play in the Premier League. There's just nobody going to pay that amount of money. So he has to probably look abroad. He look at the likes of Barcelona, and maybe he's a good fit for them. Play from that left-hand side, and maybe it's. I think he is pushing as hard as he can to get there next season.
It's a good point. Ty saying there they were vile towards Gaza, weren't they? Just Ty. I mean, I could do a fucking episode on that on my own. Just how bad they were towards Gaza. When you look back at it as well, you look back at some of the gutter antics they did at Gaza. Oh God,
vile. Two other names to throw in that as well is about gutter press reaction, and another one that was very much in Newcastle's heart was Bobby. Bobby pre-1990. The press destroyed. It was reason he was off. He was leaving the England job because the press were absolutely awful from that period from around '88 from the Euros on. He was destroyed in the press. Graham Taylor felt that as well. He was absolutely destroyed by the press. And they were two bloody good managers. And the press, I mean, of that age, they're horrendous. There's just no.
They were back to Sten as well, weren't they? They were back to Sten as well.
Sten, they did the same sort of stuff to. Bloody hell! What was the Italian's name? Capello. Yeah. See, I forgot.
That why Phil Scolari turned the job down, didn't he? Because he said, "I'm not having press like that interfering in my life," and he just said, "I don't want a job."
I'm amazed that somebody like Tuchel was willing to take it on, and I know he's seen it. He's been at Chelsea. He's seen the press reaction, but the way that has turned instantly on Tuchel is just very telling of the press. So yeah,
there's a lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot about them, mate. But we'll end this one on a positive note. So sometimes you get certain footballers of a generation that when they retire, they really let themselves go. I mean, if everyone remembers prime Wayne Rooney to prime cut of beef Wayne Rooney now, where it looks like he's had about 19 cheeseburgers before he goes on the TV. I mean, I think Rooney was always a fat lad waiting to break out, I think, in all fairs. The minute he stopped playing, the beef was going to pile on. I think everyone said that about Kevin Nolan too, but Kevin Nolan kept a decent curtain there, and that'd be the coaching job. But there is certain players who just look like they could get their boots on tomorrow and play. And one of them in particular is the phenom that is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. If you haven't seen this already, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is on his jollies. I think you've got to pull up their mark in the background. So he's by the pool. He's got some kind of weird bouncy fucking apparatus thing. He bounces on it, and then out of nowhere just pulls out a fucking world-class overhead kick in between two tree branches. He still looks great. Oh, there we go. Check it out. Here's the video for the audio. Look at that fucking technique, mate. That is unbelievable. Can we not sign him as the backup striker? He's Swedish. Why not?
He's just a phenomenal footballer, isn't he?
Chipper says,
honestly, he's something else. And you're right. Just nuts that you can control bare feet off a flotation device in your pool and still be able to do that.
If I tried that, I would slip and snort half the pool. If you tried that, I'd be taking you to A&E because you would have snapped your ligaments on the side of the fucking pool if you tried it, mate.
I'm not. Yeah, I would be in hospital for months if I tried anything like that. So.
Queen of the Heart says, I could say something about bouncing, but I would get in trouble for that. Not on this channel, Queen of the Heart. Don't you worry about it. Not this time of night. You can say what you want.
Rewind back and see some of the comments earlier. Yeah, when we say it's a safe space, almost anything goes in the comments. It's a little strange.
We still let Chippers get in. Chippers on about his 19th yellow card this episode, and he's still here. He's still in the comments.
He must be working on a ban by now. Eh?
He's got to be. But to be fair, he's got to do a lot to get a ban on this channel, I think.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Well, that's us pretty much done for this episode, guys. Thank you so much. It's been fun. It's been a while since we've done it. We'll try and bring you another one or two before the summer's out, because it is a bit quiet on the Western Front, certainly with no football. Pre-season will be back very soon, so we'll be covering that as well. where the players are getting stuck in, talking about player transfers as well. But keep it ever more. In the meantime, any new viewers tonight, I think Michael was a new viewer, click that subscribe button, mate. Hang around a bit longer. Hit all the buttons. Make sure you're kept informed as to when a video comes out. But go have a nice evening, daytime, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a belter, and we'll see you later.
See you guys. Thank you.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.